Hey, Sean, can you give us any injury updates? Maybe Havenstein, some Tutu, Hunter Long.
Yep. So coming off the game, unfortunately, Hunter Long got his MCL. He'll require surgery for that, so he'll be out for the year. It's a bummer for him. He was doing a really good job. He's fought through a lot of adversity this year, and I thought he played really well in the early parts of that game. And so you hate that for him, but looking forward to him rehabbing and doing a good job with us moving forward. Rob got a groin strain. He'll be day to day. We'll see what that looks like. He wanted to come back yesterday, but with the elements and the weather and different things like that, and Joe did a nice job stepping up in his absence. But it's always great to be able to have your captain up front in there, and so we'll take it day to day with him. Tutu is in the concussion protocol. Seemed like he was, came in today, was feeling a little bit better, but we'll go through the necessary steps with that day at a time and see how that affects his status for the week. Alex Ward actually came out. He had a stinger. So we're waiting to get further information on that as he's going to see a specialist today. And then Ben Skoranek came in with, an ankle and some back issues that would potentially put him out, for practice on Wednesday.
Okay, thanks. And then you said after the game you hadn't had a chance to watch the replay of the punt return yet. Now that you've watched it, what did you think of a couple of the blocks, particularly the start of it? And how do you handle situations like that where it's never one thing that decides a game, but it's also, it's a big play like that?
Yeah, it was a big play. The way I handle it is, you look at the things that I think are all obvious to us that we all see, but there was a lot of other opportunities with 6 missed tackles on that play, Greg. Got to be better with the location. There's so many plays that take place throughout the course of a game. And there was a lot of instances where, I was so proud of our team for the way that they competed. I'm really excited about being able to move forward. And then there were some instances that they earned the right to be in positions to close out that game. And there was opportunities really in all 3 phases to be able to do that. You credit the Ravens for being able to find a way, but I'm not going to waste my emotional energy on stuff that it's in the past. What I'm looking for is clarity on where we missed it. If that's the case, how we can avoid those things that end up hurting our football team. But there was other opportunities on that play to make plays that's not a big of a conversation today.
Right on. Thanks.
Stu?
Sean, when you think back to the time when Demarcus Robinson was signed this offseason, what were your expectations for him and how has he maybe met or in some cases exceeded them to this point?
Yeah, I don't really go into it like that as much as just I knew that he was a guy that could help our football team. I really enjoyed watching his game from afar. I thought he had a good body of work and resume on tape that you could evaluate, and then you get around him and you love his demeanor. He's got a great energy about himself. Guys love being around him. And then I think especially the last couple weeks, he and Matthew have developed a really good rapport. He's made a lot of really big time catches. Obviously gotten in the end zone a couple times, but he's made some big time individual wins in some man coverage situations. He made a bunch of crunch time and clutch, catches for us yesterday that gave us a chance to be able to win that football game. And so he's going to be an important part of this thing moving forward. He's earned that right. And, I'm really happy for him. And you can see he and Matthew have developed a good rapport.
And speaking of Matthew, he's put up some really impressive numbers over the last 3 games, especially against 2 of the top defenses in the league at this point. What stood out the most to you just about the way he's played in that stretch in particular?
Yeah, he's played like Matthew. He's a great player. And you can see he's feeling healthy. I think he's doing a great job of distributing the football. Guys are competing hard, around him and for him. And he's got great command of what he's seeing. These have definitely been 2 of the upper echelon defenses. I think he's really played really well when you look at the 4th quarter in Seattle and then the last 12 quarters when you combine Arizona, Cleveland, and yesterday against Baltimore. And, he's given us a chance to play really well on the offensive side of the football. And when he's doing that, good things happen. I think guys are making plays around him. The guys up front are playing their ass off for him. And, and he's leading like the guy that we know and that we all appreciate when he is doing Matthew Stafford type of things.
And then just lastly for me with Hunter Long's injury and obviously, Tyler Higbee this week, how does, what's your outlook on the tight end position, especially as it relates to what that could also mean for Davis Allen in his roles.
Yeah, I mean, Davis Allen ended up coming into the game. He hadn't even played 40 total snaps the whole season and plays over 50 yesterday. So I thought he did a great job stepping up. A lot of learning, a lot of big time, clutch production in the pass game. I thought he did a nice job in the run game, some things we can learn from, and also competed well in protection when that was asked of him. And so he's a guy that's played in a lot of big time games. It wasn't too big for him yesterday. Clearly, we could all see that. Hopefully we'll get Tyler back this week. That's the expectation. That's the goals. Still have Bryson Hopkins, who's done a lot of good things for us as well. But we'll take it a day at a time. We're kind of just now in the last couple hours just getting all this information, and then you start to sort through your plans accordingly.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, buddy.
Sarah?
Hey, Sean. Now that you've watched back the tape, what stood out to you on the pass that Matthew threw to the diving catch by Puka?
Well, it was a pretty good, they had an interesting coverage contour on right there where, we had two verticals through a zone. Cooper got held up a little bit because of the reroute from Humphrey into the short field, but Matthew recognized Puka running away from a backside, guy kind of in a trail position, put it out there. And, where I'm watching where he threw that, it's almost like Puka came out of nowhere to go snatch that. And I think, that's just two guys having great trust, great location, and just being able to make a play and a drive that we had to. And one of my favorite things about that was the next opportunity Puka had after the one play action that we had run on the previous drive, where it's a routine play that he would make that just didn't come down with it. But that's such a, testament to Matthew's trust in him, and then his ability to be able to respond when things don't always go your way. And, that was definitely one of my favorite plays, not because of what a special play it was, but because of what that represented in terms of the responses that we always talk about when things don't always go your way throughout the course of a game. And yesterday was one of those deals where there was 9 lead changes. It was definitely back and forth the whole day. And
then it looked like Matthew got hit pretty hard on that. Is he okay?
Yeah, he did. He got smoked on that play and popped right up, but he's such a stud. He's such a tough competitor, and he's going to do everything to be out there and continue to battle with his guys. And I think that's why you see his teammates always love him so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jordan?
Hey, Sean, I know we've talked with you a lot this year about playing a complete game in all 3 phases, but in special teams specifically, what has to happen to play a complete game just in that phase?
Yesterday, really, when you look at it, I was really pleased with our field goal operation. I thought Lucas Haversick did an excellent job responding. I love the way that we covered on the first kickoff return where Duvernay takes it out deep and pin them down and, deep into their own territory. But it's really the punt return and punt phase. And those are the ones that you're competing the most in, because the landscape of the league, you're seeing a lot of touchbacks. You're seeing a lot of fair catches in some of these kick return situations. And so, there's so many things going on each play, Jordan, that, it's never one thing that you can highlight, but there's 11 moving parts. Whether you talk about their punt return for a touchdown, the opportunity we had where it was a short field punt and we had him pinned deep and we just put our foot on the goal line instead of pinning them on the 1, and now the ball goes on the 20. But it's always about team ball. It's always about everybody doing their 1/11th. And, and there are some instances that we've executed well earlier in the year. And then there were some instances yesterday where, we could have been better. And that's one of the better special teams units in the league. That's as a complete a team as there is. The way that they play off of one another in all 3 phases. It's why they're, I'm not a big stats person, but some of the metrics that are in alignment with what leads to good football on offense, defense, and in the kicking game, they're checking a lot of the boxes, and that's why they're the 1 seed in the AFC right now. But we'll continue to work towards those things that you're talking about, Jordan. But the main areas of improvement as it relates to yesterday are in our punt and punt return phases.
And then in your after-action review last night and today, I wanted to ask you about the delay penalty in overtime. And then you had mentioned some of the communication stuff with the headset and obviously the environment and a lot of things are probably going on.
Yep.
Can you kind of explain a little bit more specifically on that first part and then the communication with the headset?
Yeah, the first part was simply we were running a motion snap point play. You're on your silent cadence at that point. They had a certain look based on what they were going to present pressure-wise where the back was up in the right side A gap. Our right guard was looking back for that second indicator. He got his eyes back, not early enough for that second indicator to represent Coleman snapping the ball. And we just kind of lost track of time right there. And that's a communication. And all those things start with coaching. And I got to do a better job. But that was a very surprising one right there for us. But one you learn from and you hope to never replicate. It ended up hurting us in that instance right there. But then the other two, just simply put, couldn't understand what I was saying in terms of the actual play call. That actually happened twice yesterday. It might have been a way that it was going through his headset because it was the same play call that I was trying to get to. But no matter what, whether it's the headset going out or whether he's not hearing it, it's a communication issue. And that's one of the things that I think we've taken some pride in. That was one of the things that I think did hurt us a little bit yesterday, not exclusive to offense, but just overall. And that always starts with coaching. And that's where one of the main after action reviews you talk about, hey, how can we eliminate these things and how can we do a great job of eliminating any gray, creating clarity, being better with the decisiveness and the understanding of exactly what we're hunting up so that these guys can go play and go execute to the best of their ability. And those are the things that really bother you as a coach because you know that you want to have a better influence than some of those instances yesterday. And our guys will respond the right way, and I know we will too.
And then last for me, what in terms of the space you guys were able to move and just the different leverage points, the touchdown between Matthew and Cooper, what had to go right on that play for it to work?
I mean, two ballers making a big time play. They're in a zero pressure situation. He's free off of a guy from his left side. Cooper's able to do a great job of a little bit of emotion that last second, ended up regaining leverage, and that's a true trust throw. I thought there was a lot of examples of those two being really in sync again yesterday, Jordan, which is really good for our offense. But that one in particular, and then on a very similar route that he was running, he hit him on a big third down. But, a quarterback that can be able to buy some time with the athleticism, to just be able to kind of just back up a little bit because of the pressure that they brought to us. And then to be able to have the ability as you're drifting back to be able to put, the right amount of top on that ball so that when Cooper's eyes come around, he can run underneath it, where it's an us or nobody type of throw. And that was a huge play for us, in that instance. And there was a lot of plays like that, but that was a big time play by both those guys.
Sorry, did one of those set up the other?
I think it was really just those guys being, there were some different coverages and some different leverages, but I think that the different complementary cuts, that you're able to, present and that Cooper's able to do and make things feel the same certainly helped. But both of those instances, one was in a zero coverage and the other was in a man pressure situation when he connected with him on those two routes, that we're talking about.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Gary?
Hey, Sean. First of all, on Cooper, from where you're sitting, is he starting to look a little bit more like the guy that we've seen over the last, 7 years?
What would your answer to that be?
Well, I know what we see and we look at stats and whatnot, but I'm just, from your perspective, is he getting back, do you feel like, to 100% physically or near that?
I think he's feeling healthier. I think that's a big deal. I think he's such a tough competitor that he would never complain or say anything, Gary, but his game is predicated on twitch, strength, contact balance, doing a lot of those different things. And the healthier and the more comfortable that you get after you had been away from the game for a long period of time. I think his opportunities, he had some more opportunities yesterday, but I did think that was a game that I think he's taken steps the last couple weeks. He had the setback against Seattle where he's blocking, he gets hurt early on in the game. And then you could see he comes back against Arizona. He really got that thing re-aggravated very early in that game against Arizona, but he gutted through and made some really good contributions to the game that maybe didn't show up on the stat sheet, but he pushed through. He was much healthier against Cleveland. Thought he had, some really key and critical plays in crunch time moments against them. He was able to not have any setbacks in the Cleveland game. And then he had a really good week of preparation leading into Baltimore. Didn't appear to have any setbacks. And I think you saw just a healthier player. He's always been the same player that we know, is special in so many ways, but especially when you are playing that position I did think it was big for him, and I thought he made a lot of plays, just like the ones I was talking about with Jordan, made some great catch and runs. I thought that's where you really saw it. He was able to create some separation, and then some of the the sideline awareness and the ability to work edges and break tackles and create after the catch. That told me that he was feeling healthier. And I think the trajectory of things, we want to keep going in this direction, but I was really happy for him because he's really put in a lot of work. And he's just been so steady and so mentally and physically tough with what's been a frustrating situation. And to see him, play the way that he did and give our team a chance to be able to win, I was happy for him.
And, you began the game with 9 straight running plays. Again, from where we sit, it was almost like you're going to make a statement in terms of they're not going to dictate, what you guys can and cannot do. And then you seem to get away from that. I'm just wondering if that's true, if you guys were trying to kind of make a statement, and if you have any regrets about, not continuing with that course.
Are you talking about on the first drive or just in general?
Well, I think through the course of the game, you guys did run the ball, but early in the game, it seemed like you guys were establishing some dominance to get down into the red zone, and then you went to some passes. So I guess my question is, it looked like that was an intentional attempt, aside with it working, to send a message like that you guys were going to establish the rhythm.
I think you go into a game and I think we pride ourselves into being reactionary. We have certain things that we want to be able to do, but it's predicated on moving the ball and scoring points. We were able to move the ball for those first 9 plays with an efficient way of being able to our guys enabled us to be able to mix it up, present some different things. Once we got down into the red area and things tighten up a little bit, and they added some extra players to the box and changed up some of their personnel groupings. Some of which you like to be able to run it against. Sometimes you don't. And it's always a give and take. But there's always things that I'll look at in terms of a decision maker. But you do go into the game with a game plan. But I don't think you ever, like everybody talks, I'm not like a robot where you just read right off of a script. You're seeing the game in real action. And so the reason we were able to do that is because our players enabled us to do that. There's never a time, going in, you can't get off 9 consecutive runs unless you're staying ahead of the sticks. Otherwise, you might be punting 3 times before you get those 9 plays off if you're just going to be bullheaded that way. But it's always about the players' execution. They did a great job. There's always going to be some calls that I would like back, Gary. I thought that red zone sequence in particular that you're referring to could have helped. We could have maybe had some execution that was a little bit better as well. But I was pleased overall with the way our guys handled it. And then there's a handful of things in that game where you're saying, damn, I wish I could have helped elicit more of a positive effect on putting these guys in the right spots. And then there were some times where I thought we helped in that regard as well. But I'm always going to think about the ones that I can do better for these guys. And, you credit them too. They did a lot of really good stuff. There's a reason why they're one of the best defenses, but our guys were ready to go. And they enabled us to be able to have that opening drive outcome because of the way they started the game.
And then finally for me, Lucas Havrick had kind of an interesting week, I think, with everything that was going on, but stepped up and performed. What did you see from him during the week, and how did you see that, play out in the game?
Saw a guy respond the way that I would want him to, from some adversity, from a challenge where you bring in a guy that's been a veteran, has a lot of credibility and has a lot of previous production, comes in. I thought he just continued to handle that situation like a pro's pro, kicked really well throughout the week and earned the right to be, up and active for us on game day. And then I thought he delivered in a big way. And I think that says a lot about a young guy. It's easy when things are going well, but when you have a little bit of a challenge, how do you respond? And that's where you really learn the most about people. And I was super pleased with him. I think that's a true testament to the mental toughness that he has, Gary. And he came through in a big way, and he definitely had a winning performance for us yesterday with what he was able to do specifically in those elements, and then coming off of some of the challenges from the previous week. I was really proud of Lucas.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll wrap up with Eric, then Adam.
Thanks for taking our questions, Coach. Appreciate it.
Sure.
In terms of Matthew Stafford, have you made a concerted effort this season to get the ball out of his hands quicker or use his movement to help receivers find voids down the field?
I think we always try to do that. I think we've been able to do that a little bit more because we've been more efficient on some early downs. And I think we've been able to have a little bit more continuity up front. I think we've been able to kind of figure out a little bit more of a rapport with some of the guys that are consistently playing around him. And I think that's helped us. But, we're always trying to evolve and do a good job. There's definitely a lot of instances, especially as it relates to some of the things last year where you look at yourself and say, I have to do a much better job of those things in terms of being able to help us be ahead of the sticks, but also try to, keep our quarterback clean. That's always a goal for us. And there's different ways of doing that. And I think that job is a lot easier from our vantage point when, number one, you've got him playing the way he's playing, but you've got some consistency and continuity around him. You've got the ability to run it, got the different things that can come off of the run where you can move the spot around. And then obviously the quick passing game and the drop back passing game in general, where the ball might come out in quicker timing or, some of the intermediate, but it's still coming out in a pretty good rhythm and timing. Those are things that we're always going to look to do. But really it's all about Matthew's played really well, but there's always a concerted effort. And I don't think I did a good job of that last year. And we've tried to really make sure that, I think our coaches have done a good job of that this year.
So to follow that up, Coach, are you attributing that to just being healthier, that you have more an inventory of what you can do offensively?
I think that certainly is a big part of it. I think there's a lot of layers to it, Eric, but I think the continuity, I think being, a little bit in better positions on some of those earlier down and distances enables you to have a little bit more variety of what you can present to the defense. But at the end of the day, it always will, and it always comes down to the players are executing at a really good clip. They're doing a good job, and it's why we've been able to play fairly decent, pretty good offensive football against some really good teams the last few weeks especially.
Okay, last one, Coach. With Puka Nacua, he's at the point in his rookie season where they hit kind of the cliche rookie wall, 12, 13 games. He's also been dinged up a little bit. So how are you kind of helping him, play with dinged up, which is a skill, and then kind of working through this part of the season where, he hasn't really played football in his career?
I think he's a special guy. He's doing things that haven't been very, very often done in the history of this league. But you always try to take care of your team as a whole. And that's the way that you go throughout the course of the week, the amount of time that's spent with Reggie and his group, and then, how many different snaps and what are the things that we're asking of him. He played a lot of snaps again yesterday. It's a physical style of football that he plays at a very physical brand. But, I think you just try to be really smart with the game plans throughout the course of the week. But he's a grown man, and I think he's shown that he's doing a lot of things that are a little bit outside the framework of what the normal dialogue is as it relates to rookies.
Had to like the reverse spat there with no gloves. You don't see that very often.
I know, right? He made a hell of a catch with it, whatever it was. And my favorite part was the response, in terms of that catch coming after an uncharacteristic drop over the middle. And, again, similar to what I was talking about with Lucas, I think you see a lot of examples of guys representing, some mentally tough responses that I think is going to serve us well as we try to navigate these last 4 games of the season the right way.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it, Eric.
Adam.
Yeah, Sean, just to circle back to Davis Allen, you talked about him, being ready for his moment. For a lot of rookies, they've never been in a situation where they've had to wait for their moment. How did you kind of see him approach that challenge?
Consistently. He's a guy that he's just always, you could see he's been in a lot of big time games, Adam, with his career at Clemson and the success that they've had. But he kind of, I think a lot of our rookies possess the maturity and a security in themselves that serve them really well. Some of which these guys got a chance from opening game. Some of which the guys were just working behind the scenes and just continuing to go to work and knowing that when their opportunity comes, they were going to be ready. And Davis is certainly one of those guys. It's not too big for him. He's just got a great look in his eye and a great ability to be coachable, receptive to the things that you're asking. And he's always been he's got great soft hands. He's made really some big time catches for us. Even you go back to that Arizona game on the 3rd down and 2, just soft hands. The game is not too big for him, and he's only going to get better as he continues to accumulate experience. And you can see this guy's fearless. I mean, making plays over the middle, the 3rd and long catch that he makes, where he goes up and over to ensure that he gets the first down on the 3rd down and 15 plus. Those are plays that, you can't coach that kind of stuff. That's right in here with you. And Nick Caley does a great job leading that group as a whole, but Davis is going to be a guy that only gets better, and he's going to continue to earn that confidence because of the consistent way that he approaches his craft.
And how close was the decision on Quentin Lake, and what do you kind of expect?
It was close because he's done such a good job, but I expect him to be back this week. He's done a phenomenal job working his rehab, and it'll be a boost to be able to get him back in the mix and what he adds to our secondary.